Are you ready for the best Kansas City Chiefs insight? Welcome to ChiefsBlitz.com YouTube podcast with your host, Nick Athen, Andre Tillman, and producer Hence Todd. They'll break down the three-time Super Bowl champions as only they can do. Here's your host, Nick Athen.
Welcome back to another edition of Chiefs Blitz on YouTube. I'm your host, Nick Athen, along with Lou Montagna, Andre Tillman, and Hence Todd. 4 wide today, as they say in the auto racing world. We are going to be doing this every Friday. We're going to preview this weekend's game. The Kansas City Chiefs traveled to Jacksonville to face the hot Jaguars, who had an interesting game against the Indianapolis Colts last week where they could have lost, but a fourth quarter surge and some Colts mistakes stemmed the tide, and the Jaguars piled on some points. It was a little bit closer than the score indicated, but first and foremost, guys, welcome to the Friday show.
Let's go. Red Friday, baby. Come on.
That's it.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm excited.
I got my PM1s on too. I came prepared.
No, he didn't. I came prepared too. You know, I believe in Kansas City can pull it off. So, you know.
We got to have the devil's advocate in here.
Right.
So, you know, let's dive into this a little bit. This is, you know, we were joking a little bit before the start of the show. And, you know, I said it's possible the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs could all be 0-2 after the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. I think the Bengals get the Ravens at home. That's going to be a tough game for them. The Raiders go to the Bills, and the Chiefs have to go to Jacksonville with, I think, must win for all three teams. Mm-hmm. And I think the Chiefs probably have the easiest path of the three only because it's Patrick Mahomes' 28th birthday. He's not losing on his birthday. He had a brilliant game. He had the Sammy Watkins game was the only time he's played in Jacksonville, and that turned out pretty good for Kansas City, even though they lost Tyreek Hill in that game for a few weeks. But, you know, I've said this before. I said it in my preview. I think Jacksonville is the number 2 seed. I think they're the second best team in the AFC right now based on their schedule. A lot of tough opponents are at home, a weak division. The Bengals and the Bills, you know, are really struggling. They struggled in the offseason. They struggled in preseason. It carried over. I think this is a tough matchup for Kansas City on Sunday. But I just have a feeling that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a comeback game to the standards that we're used to. And I think you're going to see the receivers step up. So what do you guys think?
Are you ready for the best Kansas City Chiefs insight? Welcome to ChiefsBlitz.com YouTube.
My introduction personally to myself.
Andre Tillman and producer Hence Todd. They'll break down the three-time Super Bowl champions as only they can do. Here's your host, Nick Athen.
In case you missed it the first time.
Absolutely. We're gonna run it back again.
Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure you know where the show's coming from. It's all
that's
good.
Right.
All
so
good.
I'm gonna say this real quick. I believe that since Chris Jones coming back, I feel like the Chiefs gonna be back, probably be better, a little bit better than what it was last year. But looking at Jacksonville right now, they're 5th in offense production right now. So they're gonna spread the ball around pretty well. And you know, Trevor Lawrence right now is playing some good football right now, and he got some good weapons. Christian Kirk, Ridley, they got Ingram, ENT, so they got
Ridley
some weapons. They got some good weapons over there, but it just depends on the pressure. Like I tell everybody, it starts with the pressure up front. You get him come out that pocket, off his pivot, Chiefs have an opportunity to beat Jacksonville. If not, it's going to be a long day for Kansas City.
Well, first and foremost, they got to get the other Josh Allen blocked, right? I mean, this is a kid that can probably blow up the game. I mean, you got Trayvon Walker and some other young players, but Josh Allen, you know, from a national perspective, you probably don't hear a bunch about him. But if you watch Jacksonville play week in and week out, he's a game wrecker, and that's got to get him blocked. Absolutely. Nick talked about the wide receiving group. I think week to week, it's going to be somebody different. Patrick talked about it last year, but with everybody being so young and there's 7 of them, it's going to be a process to kind of weed out or kind of figure out who those core guys are going to be. So it may be bumpy, but I can see Patrick's going to make it work. They should come out on top in this game, but Jacksonville's no joke. I mean, with the schedule, they certainly have a chance to be that number 1 seed. Look, I mean, in their division, not that there are 6 layups, but 6 winnable games, without question. So that's a tough young team.
I'm going to piggyback off what you just said. Absolutely. I'm going to piggyback off what you just said, Luke. 7 solo tackles, 3 sacks. Josh Allen.
He's a player. So
the question is, can Taylor hold up? Because he's under a lot dealing with that.
Stupidity. It's just
he said his comment. He said his comment. He said his comment. He timed the ball, the snap, but again,
they try to find anything on the Chiefs, bro. They try to find anything they can find on the Chiefs that
If you guys watched the game last night, did you see the Eagles tackles?
They did the same thing.
They're a little bit ahead of the snap. It looked like, all due respect to Lane Johnson and Mailata, they're in that gray area as well. So I mean, they put a big spotlight on it. It looked horrific because they kept spotlighting Taylor, but until they start calling it, hey, you just go with it. You do what you got to do.
Yeah. It's just stupid. I mean, it's idiotic. Look, I mean, listen, the NFL is popular because of one thing. It ain't defense. It's offense. Right. They want to see high scoring games. They want to see these athletes running up and down the field. If they only care about the defense making a stop in the fourth quarter so the offense can go back out there and win a game or seal a game. And this whole nonsense is ridiculous. And I go back to the Eagles last year. They created this short yard situation where they can put 11 guys behind Jalen Hurts and push him in the end zone. Now, where in the NFL rulebook does that say that should be legal? Number 2 is it's one thing for one guy to push him as kind of part of the play, but a design play, big uproar over it. And the NFL says, nah. No big deal. Juwan Taylor's, borderline lined up a little bit outside the neutral zone. And all of a sudden they're making a change this week. They had a conference call with the head coaches and with the officials. And they said, okay, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're going to call going forward. They're making a rule change.
But they didn't call it last night. Those guys were getting off ahead of the ball. Maybe they weren't lined up quite as far back as Juwan was, but they weren't exactly on the line either. Supposedly the tackle's head is supposed to cross the center's belt. No one's that close. I mean, unless it's a run play.
It's the face mask. As long as the face mask lined up somewhere in there, you're okay.
I'm gonna say this, guys. Can we just cut the bull? That man on that last play with Taylor, right? He was offsides.
He wasn't. If you go back and watch the tape and watch it in slow motion, you see the guy is moving with the snap of the ball.
Bow tie. Listen.
Hold on. It ain't my fault. I was quiet the whole show. Listen to everything. Listen to Lou. Listen to
Come
Nick.
on, bring it.
I'm just telling you, the guy is coming off the ball fast. Taylor, if you've been watching his tape in Jacksonville, he's been doing this since
that's why he got released.
So now,
he got $88 million. I don't want to hear
it, man.
On the national stage, right, guys? On the national stage, everybody say, "Oh, Taylor's getting, he's moving fast." So everybody's just focused, and everybody was just, used to seeing slow Orlando Brown get off the ball. Now we have faster tackles. Now they moving too fast. We need to change the rules. We need to change the overtime rules. We need to change all the rules when it comes to the
Chiefs. Let's stop all that. They changed the overtime rules after the playoff, after the 13-second game.
For the Bills. And Josh Allen is 0-5 in overtime. I love it.
Oh, well, guys.
And he hasn't been the same since.
Right. God, listen. I get everything, bow tie, Nick, Lou. I get that, but that's going to be a Chiefs Achilles heel this year. It's going to be Taylor. No. Because he said against elite pressure, he panics.
Right.
Who said that?
He panics. Hey, man, I'm just paraphrasing what the man said. I'm just paraphrasing what he said. I'm paraphrasing what he don't want to say.
Paraphrasing or putting words in his mouth.
Hey, man, you can call it what you want, Luke. You can call it what you want, man. But honestly, though, this is going to be a big test for him because, again, he knows Jacksonville. You know, he came from Jacksonville, so he knows Allen. So that's going to be very interesting to see these two go at it, you know. But we're going to see week 2 if Taylor can correct his mistakes. Now, Botas says it's not a mistake. Maybe he just
not a mistake.
Very well.
It just moving fast, and a lot of people see it Orlando Brown move, and we all seen what happened in Cleveland with Orlando Brown.
Slow.
Yeah, but everybody used to seeing that. You know what I mean? Then when Taylor comes, he's doing these workout videos. He's bringing in big old fish off the boat. He's moving fast. He's athletic. You know what I mean? He's got the fashion. Now the Chiefs are moving too fast for everybody. Hold on. His leg's moving. You know, his shoestring is untied. They're just trying to make every little excuse for when it comes to the Chiefs.
I love y'all kingdom.
Get back on the point of the Jaguars.
I love the kingdom. I do. I'm a big fan of the kingdom, guys. I love the kingdom, but let's call it what it is, man.
Show, sir. You've been talking the whole show. Let me.
Okay, Bota. I apologize. I'm sorry, kingdom.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. The guy is not moving fast. Everybody, calm down. He's not moving fast. We will see against Josh Allen. We will see against Josh Allen and see what he does. What you think about that, Nick?
Well, here's the thing about Josh Allen, which I find really interesting. One, he was on the trade block last year at the trade deadline, and Kansas City Chiefs were very high and very interested in getting him in. He's asked for a new contract, kind of like Chris Jones, but he kind of chose to stick around and see if they could work things out. Obviously, they didn't. So he's basically in his free agent contract year. Now, listen, I compare Allen to Reddick. You know, he's undersized. He's got good speed. He knows how to dip under the shoulder of the tackle. He knows how to get around the edge. He's got a little attitude toward him. And he took advantage of some young offensive linemen in Indianapolis. And in some key situations, it was obvious that they were going to throw the football. So that helps. The Chiefs offense is a lot more complex. The quarterback's completely different. And the receivers are different. But, you know, he can be a game wrecker. He has played relatively well against the Chiefs in the past. But they had a lot, if you remember in the division game, they had him covering Travis Kelce quite a bit, which I thought was interesting. Obviously, it didn't work because what did he have on 20 catches or 18 catches or 14 catches, whatever it was. So it didn't work well. So if they commit to him as a pass rusher this week and think, you know, we're assuming Travis is going to play, then, you know, we'll see how effective he is because he's generally a guy the Chiefs are going to pay attention to. But, you know, listen, the Jaguars defense overall, pretty good. They got some guys that like to maybe hit after the play. Maybe use the crown of their helmet just a little bit too much.
Cisco.
Yeah. Cisco took a beating and took quite a beating this week. And, you know, the film shows that he's been that kind of player, and that's fine. You know, but you know, he's the guy that, you know, kind of took out Juju with a concussion. And there was another player.
He tried to take out MVS
and he tried to take MVS out as well. So, you know, I don't like that kind of football. But you know, it's old school AFL, so I should appreciate it. But you know, nowadays, you know, I think the league's going to take a strong look at it. But they got to be careful with him. Both the Chiefs have to be aware of his tactics, and they need to know where he is on the field. And you know, when they can take advantage of him, they certainly need to. But that defense overall, considering, you know, how well I thought Trent Richardson played last week, which I was surprised. Of all the young quarterbacks, he was not the one I was going to pick, based just on the dysfunctionality of the organization that he's playing for, that they would have a game like that. So I think that they're going to have to look at this defense, and they're going to have to be very smart in how they move the football with Mahomes. Kelce plays, it changes everything. Kadarius Toney catches his first pass, is going to change everything. You know, get MVS, get Watson, spread the ball out, and I think they're going to be able to do that. But this Jaguars defense is pretty good and gave Kansas City fits in the second half a year ago in the regular season. And honestly, for much of the game in the divisional round.
I'm gonna say this.
I'm gonna say this. Speaking of the wide receivers, man, I think the wide receivers are going to come out and play. I don't think they're gonna play their butt off. You know what I mean? I think they're gonna come out. This is gonna be a revenge game for Kadarius Toney. You know what I mean? A lot of people, as long as he stay off Instagram now. Now I'm gonna look right here in this camera. I'm gonna look right here in this camera. Kadarius Toney. If you can hear me, if you watch it, if you come across this video, stay off Instagram, man. I inboxed you. I even at you on Twitter. I even in your inbox on Instagram. Just stay off Twitter. The Giants are old news and everything else. I'm just saying, we need you to show who you are, because I think you are a great talent. I think he's the best wide receiver that could probably come into Kansas City, other than Tyreek Hill.
Dwayne Bowe.
I think, and Dwayne Bowe. I think, you know what I mean? I think Kadarius Toney is going to show off this game. I think he's going to show up. I think he's going to show out. I think they need to use Rashee Rice a little bit more, and also need to use Justin Ross a little bit more.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I seen the offense play out. Sky Moore, I'm giving this guy a chance, and actually I sat back and watched what's his name? He got his own show, Steve Smith. I watched his stuff, and he was breaking down film of Sky Moore, and he was like, "Yeah," he said, and it didn't look good. You know what I mean? Like, Sky Moore, you've been here 2 years. You know what I mean? You guys to take this serious. You know what I mean? I know all the other stuff is going on outside of football and family on there, but
they got to know the plays.
You got to know the plays. They didn't just drop Rashee Rice for no apparent reason. Yep. You know what I mean? They draft people to replace you. So you got to come out and show out. What you got? What you think about that, Lou?
Well, there's plenty of talent in the room. I mentioned it earlier. I think it's just going to take a while to develop, who's going to be what role. But again, they all have to learn all the different positions in Reed's offense, and they all have to.
I think we lost Lou. Oh, we lost Lou.
Uh-oh.
Well, Luke made a very interesting point.
He made a couple of big plays.
There you go.
Let's see if he can, move it along.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say this real quick, guys. Everybody beating around the bush, and I like that, guys. The Kingdom always likes to beat around the bush. Justin Ross need more touches. I mean, we can't sit around playing, man. Justin Ross is the playmaker on this offense. When Kelce went down, we should have seen more Justin Ross. Simple, because we need a playmaker. We need another spark. Okay, Rashee Rice is an intermediate guy. He can catch the tough catches, no problem. MVS been in the system. I get that. But he's not as explosive as Justin Ross is. Justin Ross is everything they want in the explosive receiver, in number one. We got to get a man more touches a little bit more touches, like more targets, at least 4 to 5 targets, And I say this because if you look at Rashee Rice had 5 targets in that first game. 5 targets. And Rice and Justin Ross only had one for one, right? So some got to change. Something has to change, because right now the offense is not as explosive. I know it's week 1, guys. It's not as explosive because we doing this intermediate route running. It's not like, these defenses going to sit there. They're going to pin their ears back, And I bring up this Allen situation. Him and Taylor, they know each other, but at the same time, the reason why I go so hard on Taylor, because the Chiefs have to correct that situation with Taylor and his timing, because that right there can cause the Chiefs -5 yards.
But you're dwelling on this point, man. It's just not. It's not an issue. You're going to penalize 32 teams. You're going to have to penalize 32. I'm sorry. I'm doing my math in my head. 64 tackles in the National Football League are going to all be penalized because the drop step is borderline.
Because they put more spotlight on the Nick. Now they in on something that's been going on for decades in the NFL. So now they're starting to really pay attention. And what better way to do it against the biggest and best team in the NFL right now? The Chiefs are the best team. They're going to find any and everything to bring down Kansas City. We all know that. We know that.
Yeah, well, that's just Chris Collinsworth trying to push up his PFF thing.
Absolutely. I know he is.
That's all it was. That's all it was.
Right. So
it's gonna change the number. It's gonna change the numbers this week.
But
and the grades.
Absolutely, Nick, you're right. But here's the thing, Nick. If Taylor managed to get better, all eyes on Taylor anyway. They're gonna put the emphasis on him.
They are.
Right. So if he corrects that, and watching that game, he did play fairly well against Hutchinson. He played fairly well, right? But at the same time, he corrects that little issue. Chiefs will be just fine. But at the same time, Chris Jones, what are we getting from Chris Jones? Are they going to sprinkle him in a little bit here and there, or is he going to play a complete game? Who knows? We don't know yet. And like I said, Jacksonville is very explosive now. They're very explosive from top to bottom. They can get it done. So Chris Jones is very much needed in this game.
No, I agree.
So what's you guys take on what's your score predictions on the game? What's your take on what you looking forward to coming out of this game?
For me, for me, I'm thinking 31-28, 31-26, something like that. Originally I think I had the Chiefs putting 40 up in this game, but I don't think that's going to happen at this point. So, I think that if the Chiefs can run the ball a little bit, maybe do a few more screens, maybe do a reverse or two, have some success, junk the 3rd and 1 and the 4th and 1, Blake Bell, pitch to Rasheed. If you're going to pitch it to Rasheed, pitch it back to Mahomes and let him run the opposite end or throw the ball or something. But, they got to correct that. But for me, you mentioned the defense and Chris Jones. I think Chris plays probably about 35% of the snaps, maybe 40. Obvious passing situation, so he can come in and be a game wrecker. Listen, if he gets a sack or even 2, Chiefs win this football game. If he looks lost out there, then that's going to be a problem. But again, they beat a really good offensive team in Detroit. I mean, they played a really good offensive team in Detroit, who I think are top 4 or 5 based on the ratings. And they held them to 14 points. And honestly, if it wasn't for the interception, Chiefs probably win that football game. So, we'll see. We'll see how it. But I'm thinking the Chiefs are going to be 31, 32, 33 points, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 35-20 Chiefs.
Ooh.
I think it's Patrick Mahomes' birthday. He's coming out. He's going to come out and torch. He's going to come out and torch everybody. The wide receivers got to prove something. Andy Reid and Nagy got to prove that, hey, our offense just didn't look bad. I mean, we just had to go through a little hangover, but I think they're going to come out and get back on track. Then they're going to come back to be 3-1 when they beat Chicago after that. So, I put it like this. The Chiefs lost, but the football gods is like, the Chiefs lost, but they didn't lose. You get what I'm saying? Because they said everybody else is on the top of the division, all the top quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and all the other they lost too. But it's like a restart. The Chiefs are still held a race. Everybody else just stuck in a puddle of water. What you guys say, Dre?
What do you think?
Before we close out.
Are you there, Luke? Can you hear us?
He's not.
Sorry, brother.
I get Luke going out because Luke understands that Jacksonville's a tough team. They are a tough team right now. So Luke trying to get his mind together right now. He's trying to really fathom what the score is going to be. I'm gonna say this. I think honestly, it's gonna be a tough, close game. It's gonna be tough, very tough. Both offenses are potent. Both defenses probably the same. I'll say they both. I'm gonna say even kill in a sense, but both quarterbacks are playmakers, and they both got weapons. So it's gonna be a close game. I say both sides, either side probably win by 3. It's gonna be tough, but I think Chiefs can edge it out. I think the Chiefs edge it out by 3.
I think so too.
I say about 3 points because it's gonna be a tough game.
Again, we lost Luke. I
think so.
But He'll be back next Friday.
He'll be back Sunday. He'll be back Sunday post game.
There we go.
He'll be back Sunday. He'll be back Sunday. So with that said, man, we want to thank everybody for watching. Any last close takes for you, Nick?
Again, guys, we appreciate everybody at ChiefsBlitz.com. Definitely like our page, our YouTube channel. Check it out. The links go direct. Definitely need to get the subscriber base out. We're going to start putting some milestones out there. I'm going to dip into my memorabilia collection. And if we hit certain milestones and the person that helps us with that milestone is going to get something pretty cool. I've got a 40-plus year history of collecting Kansas City Chiefs merchandise. So looking forward to that. So everybody, thanks again for tuning in. Lou, we had some technical issues. We'll get those worked out. Dre and Hence, appreciate your time. Appreciate you doing the show. And we'll talk soon. See you guys Sunday.
All right, guys.
All righty.
Are you there?
Luke.